Hello, and welcome back to the Fretboard Journal podcast. It's me, once again, Sofia, assistant editor at the magazine, today with another episode. Before we get into it, I just want to remind you that the Fretboard Summit is fast approaching. It is in August, back in Chicago, and you should make sure to register now if you're coming, because tickets sure are limited. We'll be announcing lineup and such soon. We're really excited to be back at the Old Town School of Folk this year. It was such a blast last year, so many highlights. We actually did a podcast episode that came out on the very last day of 2025 where we recapped a lot about the magazine and about the summit and what to expect from the summit in general. So if you're interested in learning more about it, you can check out that episode with me and Jason from December. But today, our guest is Ramsey Thornton, based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. He is a banjo player and a guitar player. And most interesting, we're going to get into kind of the ways he's converted his guitar to play more like a banjo, which I'm not going to give too much away in the intro. You'll have to listen to the episode to find out more about that. He has sidemanned over the years for a lot of different incredible artists, and this year he's putting out solo music, which is kind of the timing of this conversation. He has a record coming out this year, and the singles are starting to come out. So definitely follow him on social media to be most up to date with his original music that's coming out. This is a really fun conversation. I talked to Ramsey in Tulsa, and he told me about alternate tunings and drone strings, and also something we really connect on is he, interestingly enough, has his master's in banjo studies, which is he's probably one of the only people that can say that. So we talk a bit about his academic work and the academic side of things, which if you've been listening to the podcast, you know, I love that world a lot. But before we get into it, of course, the Fretboard Journal podcast is brought to you by Peghead Nation. For 10 years now, it's been the finest spot on the internet to become a better acoustic player. You can get your first month free or $20 off any annual subscription with the promo code Fretboard at checkout. We're brought to you by Mike and Mike's Guitar Bar, as well as Stringjoy Strings, where you can save 10% on your first order at stringjoy.com with the promo code Fretboard. Without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Ramsey Thornton. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Fretboard Journal podcast today. Could you tell us a bit about where you're calling in from?
Yeah, I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in my apartment. As I was just saying, used to be an old Tulsa public school, and now it's studio apartments. But yeah, I'm in Tulsa.
And is that where you grew up?
Yeah. Besides like going off to college and stuff, I've just been here. Yeah, I've been back here in Tulsa for, I guess I graduated from Oklahoma State in like 2020. And then I was doing my graduate degree there, but I guess I've been back here for like 5 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a unique graduate degree. Could you tell us a bit about it?
It's kind of niche. Yeah. I think on paper it's just a Master of Arts in history. But kind of my main thesis project was, I mean, if people ask me, I kind of just say it's like the history of the banjo, because I don't want to take the time to, it's a lot of people don't care about that.
Well, we certainly do over here.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of just like looking at like the archaeological trail of like the banjo starting in like Western Africa, going into like the Caribbean islands, and then to like the American South, and just kind of like taking primary and secondary sources and like kind of making an argument for how it's always been, the same core of an instrument, and there's been like certain instances of like creolization or whatever between different cultural groups where there's been like a significant like changes from in certain points, but arguing that it's kind of always been a part of like a unique like black banjo, like gourd banjo tradition that goes back to like the Western African area. Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about your research during this time. How are you conducting research?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of well, there's a decent, I mean, for how like niche the subject is, there's a decent amount of material. And there's a lot of like from like the Caribbean islands, there's a lot of like like journal diaries, journal entries from like European colonists that like either drew pictures or just like kind of took accounts of what like African slaves are playing or like the how they were making these instruments and stuff. So that's a big thing. There's also like a handful of like historical paintings that are just like kind of like looked at as like, oh, this, at here at this point in time, this is what this looked like, and here are these like key um, anatomical features or whatever of this instrument. Yeah, so a lot of like journal entries, paintings, and then there was like there's like a 20th century like black string band in Tennessee that I kind of like used as like a case study, and um, some database that I was looking at has like all of their recordings that I forgot exactly where that was, but a bunch of recordings too, to kind of like dissect certain like playing styles and picking patterns and all that. But yeah, it's a lot of different source material really.
Yeah. What is the beginning of the story with you and the banjo? When did you first pick up the banjo?
Yeah, probably about 10 years ago. I'm about to turn 28, and I started playing when I was 18. So one of my friends in college had one, and I had a I've played the drums like my entire life, but that was like the first. I kind of like didn't play anything besides that until I was 18. Um, yeah, I don't really know why. He just had one, and so I just started. I just started playing it. So I never, and I play more often than that now. I play guitar, and so I kind of just the way that I play guitar is just kind of I don't like play it in like standard guitar tuning or anything, and so kind of just learned how to play the guitar through the banjo. But there's
Cool.
no, just kind of it was around, and so I just picked it up really.
Okay, so you were a drummer first, which is not always a common story on this podcast. Let's
Sure.
talk a bit about that. When did you pick up the drums?
Yeah. My brother is 4 years older than I am, and I think he started playing drums when he was like 6. Um, so there was just kind of always one in my house growing up. I don't know it sounds ridiculous to say I started playing drums when I was like 4 years old. Yeah, I mean, I feel like at least like very, very as seriously as a 4-year-old can play the drums. I feel like I've kind of just always played it. Yeah, I've kind of just always had one growing up.
Yeah,
And
what kind of music were you playing? Like what kind of bands were you playing in?
yeah, I mean, just kind of like your typical rock bands, I guess, that you would be doing with your friends in high school and stuff. Um, I don't
In
know. Yeah,
Tulsa.
yeah. In Tulsa, I mean, whenever I played drums in groups in Tulsa, it was kind of just like rock music, just very generalized, um, nothing too crazy or impressive, I guess, growing up. I feel like I didn't really, honestly, um, we both know Isaac. He was one of the first people that I met, and I feel like I had started to like actually like, yeah, I don't know, just like meet people around here that like, oh, like these people can play music and it's fun to play with them. And I feel like we're like doing something cool here. Um, but yeah, like growing up, I would say I've always been more of like a jazz leaning drummer, but definitely the groups that I was playing with when I was like a 16-year-old, I wouldn't say we were doing anything that innovative or crazy for, you
Yeah,
know.
where were you getting that jazz fix? In lessons or where?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I took lessons for a little bit. I don't know. I think it's just kind of like what I just remember listening to like a lot of like Snarky Puppy and stuff, just like kind of like the fusion thing. That's kind of like what I always gravitated towards. I don't know, like Nate Smith has been one of my favorite drummers for a really long time. So not like mid 20th or 21st, or I guess 20th century jazz, not like that stuff, but kind of like just, like the newer type of jazz drumming, I guess. I just kind of that was what I was into when I was like a teenager and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So you pick up the guitar more in college, it sounds like.
Yeah, really, I guess. Yeah, so I started playing banjo when in college. I think I didn't even start like actually playing guitar until um out of college, like maybe
Wow.
like 2020 2022 or something like that. Um, yeah, which is weird. I kind of forget that. But it hasn't. I think I've only been playing guitar for maybe like 4 years. 2021. Yeah,
How would you say your approach to it is affected by the fact that you've been a drummer for so long?
yeah. I mean, I think I've always like prioritized what my right hand is doing over my left hand. I'm definitely not utilizing that much theory when I'm playing guitar. Um, there's a handful of tunings that I play in, and the one that I guess I would use the most often is just like an open banjo tuning. And so I'm using like more theory there because I like know what's happening, but a lot of the tunings that I'm playing in, I don't really understand the tunings musically. And so I'm just kind of but yeah, I mean, I feel like a just rhythmically like picking with my right hand, that's always been the thing that I've kind of like maybe I was just like better at that. To begin with, just because a rhythm has always been a thing. But yeah, I mean, probably just like the way that I feel like my right hand was kind of there wasn't much of a learning curve there. So that's probably like the biggest way I would say that drums, affected that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like the people I have spoken to who played some sort of rhythmic instrument first, it is so then becomes like right hand dominant
Sure.
playing in a way.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, which I mean, there's so much to be said about that and how that can train you as a guitar player.
sure.
So, okay, so you have played drums with other people, you've played other instruments for other people too, but we're talking today because you have a record coming out.
Right.
When did you start on the solo career journey?
Yeah. Maybe like 2021 is when I started. I had been in bands before that playing banjo or drums or whatever, but I feel like 2021, I think, is when I started like kind of writing music for like an idea of like like a solo project of sorts. Yeah, and I've put out some stuff since then. But this record I started recording, I think in like the fall of 2023 in Brooklyn. Just a handful, maybe 4 or 5 trips up there over the course of like 2 years to get all of it recorded. But yeah, just solo project in general, I think about 4 years now is at least like writing for it.
When you're writing, are you thinking banjo dominant, guitar dominant, drum dominant? Like what's leading?
Yeah. I think at this point it's just guitar dominant. I feel like I like purposely kind of try not to think about drums for a song like until we like go to track drums, which is sometimes that's easier than other times, or sometimes it's harder than other times. But that's I feel like that's like just like I don't know. It's a way that it kind of just keeps it fun for me, I guess. I try not to like I like to like not have any I don't know, preconceived ideas of what's going to happen with drums until we just like go to work on that. Yeah, I mean, anytime I'm working on a song now, it's definitely just a guitar idea that I have, and that's usually like the main force behind whether I finish a song or not.
What was the decision to come record in Brooklyn?
Yeah, well, yeah, my friend Isaac Stalling,
Who I'll say has been on the podcast.
right. Yeah. There's a band called Work Wife that um that we met actually, I think when Isaac was playing in my band here in Oklahoma. That band was coming through Tulsa on their way to South by Southwest. We played the same show, played on the same bill, and so we kind of just met each other at the same night. And then he did like a run with them, and Sam Skinner was in that band for that run, I think. So Isaac met Sam Skinner there, and then I think Isaac maybe showed him my stuff or whatever. Isaac moves to Brooklyn, and then yeah, so that's kind of the connection with me in Brooklyn is just Isaac moving there, and then me wanting to record a record up there with Sam Skinner. Yeah, yeah.
I remembered what I wanted to ask you about, which is so, I've learned now that a lot of your formative experiences in high school were playing in these like so-called kind of classic rock bands, like generic rock in a way.
Yeah.
But that's so not how I would describe the sound of this record that's coming out. So I'm curious, like, what was your own kind of musical listening education during that time that would go on to influence these recordings you're making? Just because they sound so different from the kind of music you were enriched in at the time. So what were you listening to?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for a long time now, I've always gravitated towards just like kind of like quieter music. A lot of a lot of like acoustic guitar music. I mean, like Nick Drake has been a big one. A lot of things similar to that. More like contemporary stuff, like Adrian Lenker has been a big influence on me in the past several years. I feel like, I mean, kind of what would the word be? Coincidentally, like Pine Grove was really big for me. Back in like 2020 or whatever. I think kind of just like like the whatever that like indie acoustic guitar thing that's kind of just been happening for a while now that just really I feel like affected me around the same time that I started playing guitar, I guess.
Guitar-centric music being really important in a moment where you're picking it up for the first time and you're listening to all these really current musicians that are putting out records in that moment.
When I started playing guitar, I like I take off like the low E, like the bass string, and I just like swap it with like a high drone string just to like keep it like a banjo. That's just
interesting.
Yeah, like the picking patterns that the way that I learned how to play banjo, just so that I could kind of like keep my right hand the way that I like my right hand to be. I take off the low E string and I swap it with a high drone string. And then, like I said earlier, like most of the time I'm playing guitar, it's in like a open without a capo or anything. It's just like an open G tuning, like a banjo. So like the difference between that high drone string and then the fifth string, which I guess is normally the A string, is like I guess like a 2 octave difference. So it's like high G, super low G, and then D, G again, B, D. That's like the tuning that I did, probably the majority of the songs on the record are in.
Yeah. Did you get that from someone in particular, or that was your own devising?
I think it was just my way of being lazy and not wanting to learn guitar, like actually learn guitar. And like I said earlier, it's just like all the habits, all the picking pattern habits that I had picked up from playing banjo, just to kind of keep those intact. Like that drone string up top, like really was the kind of like foundational for how I played. And so,
But what do you feel you gain from converting the guitar into banjo as opposed to just playing banjo?
yeah, it's a good question. I think I just like the tone of a guitar more.
Yeah.
I I think maybe it's more versatile of a sound. I also don't know if I'm banjo's a really cool instrument. It's a really interesting instrument.
Well, you have a master's in it.
I mean, sure, yeah. And I play banjo in like Ken Pomeroy's band. I still play it out and stuff. Um, but I don't know. I think something that maybe just like the timbre of the instrument. I feel like a guitar just kind of um, suits songwriting better, maybe. It's
Mm,
also like physically more comfortable for me to play guitar sometimes. It's just a little bigger and not just
yeah.
like a circle that you have to like balance on your lap. Yeah,
Yeah. And obviously you're going to reach for more of the comfort if all your songs are starting on the instrument too.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, you brought up Ken. Let's talk a bit about sideman
sure,
life.
sure.
How are you approaching it kind of musically speaking when you're playing and touring and tracking records with somebody else as opposed to your own stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. In hopefully in a healthy way, I feel like it's a lot less pressure. Um, it's probably in a lot of ways more fun because it's just like, well, less pressure, but also like she the way that it's always happened so far is she just presents pretty much a finished song to us. And so I kind of just have the luxury in that position of like being like, okay, well, this is like a great song. And so I'm just gonna like uh just add where I feel like it needs to be added to and not feeling like I have to like, she's a great songwriter and a great player, so what she's gonna offer up is already gonna be solid in itself. And so just kind of like switching my thinking into more of like a complimentary thing and not like
Yeah,
a
like
this
an
is
embellishment as opposed to with your own stuff, you have to be part of like the fundamentals.
for sure. Also, yeah, like when playing Kin songs, I'm definitely more free to kind of do whatever, I guess. When I'm playing my own songs, it's more like, okay, I like, I'm more or less playing the same thing every time. Because it's just the way the things are structured and like singing over it and stuff like that. I just feel like I probably have more freedom playing banjo or guitar on top of Kin's songs than whatever I would be doing to my own song. Yeah. So it's just kind of like switching the way that I'm thinking about approaching a song, I guess.
What are the plans this year? You've got this record coming out.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else on the agenda you could tell us?
Well, yeah. So I think the record, it was pushed back slightly. I believe the record comes out on May 15th. And so here in a couple of weeks, the first kind of the first single to come off the record will be out in like I think February 10th. So the next handful of months is just going to be like single rollout. Yeah, there aren't any. I'll be touring with Ken a little bit. We have a run we're about to go do in like 2 weeks, and then we're recording for a few days at the Loft in Chicago. That'll be
Oh, fun.
yeah, very excited to be
Have you
there. It should
been
be rad.
before?
No, no.
It's amazing.
I'm very excited. I think I've been to Chicago 3 or 4 times, but I've never been more than like one night. So I'm excited to go and spend some time there. But yeah, we have some shows coming up and some recording stuff coming up and some festival dates scattered out throughout the spring and summer. But my own project, I'm kind of just, we have this record coming out this spring and hopefully some, tour support and stuff like that for, summer and fall, but nothing is too sorted out yet.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the guitars you're playing right now.
Sure.
So you've told us about all your endeavors in tuning and banjo tuning. What kind of guitar are you doing that on?
Yeah, the guitar that I've been playing for a few years now is just a Silvertone 319. I've had a really hard time I've looked through all the harmony indexes of to find what year it would have been built. And I can't find anything with the exact serial number that is on my guitar. So I mean I'm sure it's mid to late 60s.
How did that guitar come into your life?
Yeah, it was I got it at Guitar House in Tulsa, owned by Drew Wynn here in Tulsa. Great guy, great shop. There's a local master luthier here in Tulsa named Seth Lee Jones. I believe this guitar was his wife's first venture into guitar restoring, and so it was like refretted, like the neck was refinished and everything. It was rebraced. But yeah, they sold it at Guitar House here in Tulsa, and yeah, it sounds great. It's a department store guitar, so it's cheap, but it also feels great because it was restored. I think it's made of birch, but it's just it's like a very I really like the way it sounds. And it like the playability because they redid the neck entirely. It feels really great. I feel like I probably can't tour with it for much longer just because it's like getting beaten up and I don't want to beat it up more than it is. But yeah, it's a Silvertone 319. Somewhere definitely like mid to late 60s. Definitely like just sold at Sears or whatever. But I love it. It's a really cool guitar.
What are you playing banjo wise?
It is the one I'm playing right now is from what I have gathered, the brand is Imperial, and from what I've gathered, it was a local, like a Oklahoma banjo maker that was making banjos in like the 70s and the 80s. I was told that I think this banjo was built in like the 80s. It's not definitely like not someone making banjos anymore. But yeah, it's an Imperial banjo, and then I've had so much trouble having playing shows and not having like a feedback issue just in in full band big venue environments where I'm using like that I think it comes in like all of the Deering banjos now. It's like the Cavanjo. It's like a humbucker pickup basically, but just designed for banjos. You just like plug a 1/4 inch straight into like the head of the banjo. But yeah, it's an Imperial banjo and a Cavanjo pickup, which has been great. Just like kind of minimizing all of the banjo feedback. It's like hard to get rid of, but yeah.
Yeah, what other guitars do we hear on this new record?
Yeah, well, so I am, yeah, so I recorded everything with that Silvertone. Isaac played acoustic and electric on it. Honestly, I don't know specifically what guitars he used. I don't even know if they were his, but yeah, Isaac played acoustic on a few. He played electric on a few, and then slide on a few. Sam Skinner played some electric. I remember he played like a fretless baritone on a song, and then he played bass and just like a little bit of keys. But I guess honestly, the Silvertone is really the only guitar that I can like. This specific guitar was on that record, but yeah, mainly Isaac and I played guitar for the record.
If you're gonna retire this Silvertone for touring, do you have your eyes on anything else or anything else in your
Not
in your
really. My an ideal would just be like a small body callings or something, but that's, you know, probably out of the picture right now. But yeah, I'm just kind of looking around at this point.
What would you say are some kind of key takeaways or thematic moments overall from this record now that you've externalized it and you're in the release process, less of the making process? What would you
Yeah.
say kind of is maybe some through lines overall?
I feel like this collection of songs are it's like the first group of songs where I'm like proud of them. I've put out a couple of EPs so far. But I feel like this is the first project where I'm like actually proud of it, and at least I hope, like 10 years from now, I'll still be proud of it. Um, I feel like these songs, I feel like it took a few years to like find kind of what my voice was or whatever, like how I write songs. Yeah, I feel like this collection of songs is the first collection of me like kind of feeling like I like at least know like the tone of what I want to say is. There's a lot of these songs where I feel like a lot of the way that I write songs, it's not like specifically about one thing, but it's kind of like trying to capture like a mood or something lyrically. And I don't know. I feel like I've gotten better at that. I feel like, or I at least feel like this album is the best presentation of doing that I've done so far. But yeah, just kind of like learning like what my voice is and how I want to say the things that I'm trying to say at least. Yeah.
I feel like that's a good place to end. Thank you for doing this.
For sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm a big fan.